Okay, good morning and welcome to Iyun Benzion, Yevamos Daf Nun, number 50. We're discussing today a new parak, or we're talking about two additional things. Bringing in, we know about chalitza and yibum, right? When you have yibum, you have two options. You can do chalitza, right? She takes off his shoe, she spits, she says some psukim, and therefore it dislodges the zika. Or you could do yibum, you could be kona her, take her as your wife, do bia and be kona her. The Gemara introduces, we've talked about these things before previously, but now the Mishnah addresses them directly. Let's say you do mimer, it's called mimer and get. Mimer is basically a kiddushin. Before the bia, you want to do a mimer. This is actually the recommended way Chazal said. You're supposed to do mimer first, and then do a bia, then do yibam to the one woman that you're going to do yibam to, mimer to her and yibam to the second. You can't do mimer to one woman. We have shtei Yevamos, mimer to one and bia the second one is a problem. I think Mishnah says. But if you do mimer to one and then you do yibum to her, that's the recommended way. And there's a concept of get. You give a get. You have a contract. The yibum falls to yavam. You give her a get. Uh, if you give her a get, so that's a problem. It's the Rabbanan were oftentimes confused. That people are going to confuse chalitza and gittin. Gittin normally ends a marriage. It doesn't end yibum. It has no effect in this because it's similar to chalitza. They said once a man gives a get to the Yevamos, so therefore he can no longer do Yibam anymore. Just like if you do Chalitza, right, it removes the Zika Lagamra. You can't, even though Gittin doesn't remove the Zika. The Rabbanan, they said it's a problem of Asher Lo Yivne. You can't do Bia anymore, you can't do Yibam anymore. It's already a problem of doing Bia because if a person does Chalitza and does Bia to that woman, right, then it could be an Isra, Asher Lo Yivne. You can't, once you do Chalitza to her, you can't do bia to her. It's a problem in Israel in the Torah, the Raisa. So by a get also, they said you can't do bia, you can't do even to her anymore also. Now, the Mishnah makes a distinction between, and the Gemara discusses this distinction between, the Gemara says that ein achara chalitza klum. As long as you do chalitza, it removes the zika legamre, there's nothing to worry about. But there is a distinction. Let's say you have two yevamos, two co-wives, and one that fell to you for yivam, and one you do mimer to. And then one, you do the second one, you do chalitza. So the halacha is that even though enacharecha chalitza klum, chalitza removes the whole zika, it does remove the whole zika, but the mimer is effective to the first one. And you need a get lemamoro. You need a get. You have to remove that mimer. It's a kedushin. The way of removing a kedushin is a gittin. So you still need a get. But if you do give a get to one and the chalitza to the other, there's nothing to get rid of. The chalitza removes the whole construct of Yibam and Chalitza, and the get is meaningless. Now, what's a ramification over here? I don't know what the halacha would be. They probably talk about it in the Shulchan Aruch. But when we say Enei Charecha Chalitza Klum, does that mean that the get that was given originally is rendered ineffective? What's an afkamina? If you give a get to a woman, so just like if you do Chalitza to a woman, you're usher in the krovim. So therefore, if you get to a woman, you're also usher in the krovim. That is a halacha. You give a get to a woman, even in the contract of yibum, you become usher to the krovim. So ein acharecha chalitza klum. Does that mean that there's no relationship at all with the gerushin? It removed the legamre. That's what it seemed to be like. But if you do mimer, so then you need a get to get rid of that mimer. What's the difference? Why is it? So I want to suggest basically that. We've mentioned before that mimer, like Mishnah says, mimer and then bia is karezu k'mitzvasa. That's the best recommended way Chazal doing it. Now we have to deal with Rashi. Rashi says karezu k'mitzvasa avzu k'mitzvasa. This is also a way of doing it. It doesn't say this is the best way of doing it. Rashi says, and the Mishnah on Daf Nun, Amid Aleph. But the most Rishonim learn that this is the recommended way of doing it. So mimer, even if you say Beis Shammai has a sheet that Zika is Kona Kinyan Gomer. Zika may be Kona Kinyan Gomer according to Beis Shammai. Without doing anything, Kona Kinyan Gomer. We said it can't be that he's really Kona Kinyan Gomer. It really means that there's two things going on over here. It says in the Pasuk, Yevamo Yavo Allah, V'la Kolo Isha V'yivma, right? There's two parts in the Pasuk. Yevamo Yavo Allah. Abia is Kona. And V'la Kolo Isha, it should be his wife, right? So, normally when you do a bia, that accomplishes both. It accomplishes a kinyan, two things: a kinyan yibum and a kinyan nisuin. Yom Yavo as a kinyan yibum, and velachol isha would be a kinyan nisuin. Nafmin would be whether what type of bia would be good enough to do a complete kinyan nisuin. Maybe you need a higher level bia to be a bi'ila, not just be a baal, not just a bia. A bia would only affect the kinyan yibum, which is like a kiddushin. So, not according to Beit Shammai, according to Beit Hillel, Maimer would have the effectiveness. It's not just as din derabbanan. Maimer actually is din deraisa of affecting a kinyan yibum on the raisa level. And that's why the Mishnah says that it's not just Maimer as a din derabbanan. Maimer actually, even though it's to us, it actually affects a kinyan yibum midaraisa. So you need a get to remove that because it's like you're makudash and makudashin. They're already makudash. You need a get to remove that. If you give a get is only a general confusion for chalitza. A get is totally ineffective over here. So therefore, the chalitza, once you do that, retroactively removes whatever you did with the get. The chalitza is effective over here. The get is ineffective, only Gzera D'Rabbanan. So Rabbanan said, once you do chalitza after that, it removes the whole concept of the yibam. Maybe there's no isser of grusha and her krovim. Maimer though is completely effective on a daraisa level. That's like it suggests for a kinyan yibam, not for kinyan yisuin. And therefore, you have to give a get to that on a deraisa level, maybe. And for sure, the krovim of that get that you give to the mimer would be usher. Krovas gerushaso would be usher to him for life. And the chalitza afterwards just removes the contract of yibum and removes the contract of kinyan nisuin of the zika, but you still have to give the get because of the deraisa level of mimer for kedushin. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you tomorrow. Bye.